Hi, Mark Reece Healey with another segment of Tell Me a Story in 2 Minutes. We were going to continue with Chapter 1 with Into Thin Air. Now, if you didn't get a chance to listen to the prologue, it is posted here on my YouTube channel. So anyways, we're going to continue with Chapter 1. Michael was barely 17 when he first laid eyes on Christine. She was without a doubt the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. He was captivated by her long, wavy light brown hair, which cascaded past her shoulders. Those emerald green eyes, those long legs that he looked at admiringly. Michael didn't know if this was love at first sight, but he was drawn to her, ultimately under her spell. She was the kind of girl who attracted attention when she walked into a room. Her incredible charm, her poise, and the unique way she entered a room turned heads at every corner. On one particular occasion, it was at a school dance when he saw her enter through the gym doors, that infectious beaming smile displaying her white pearly teeth. Michael was immediately hooked. And even though others were just as equally drawn in, they had only eyes for one another. With his heart racing, sweaty palms, and knees quivering, Michael knew at that moment that this was the woman he was going to marry. As she glided gracefully over to his side, she sat next to him with that infectious smile. That smile immediately made his heart melt. God, she was so beautiful, he kept telling himself over and over in his mind. In spite of the fact that she was sitting in such proximity to him, he tried to speak to her, but the words wouldn't come out. He knew exactly what he was going to say, but he struggled. His quivering lips, chattering teeth, and his mouth were unable to get the words out. He was hoping Christine would make the first move since she was the one who chose to sit next to him. Still, he was a nervous wreck. But why? He didn't know this girl. She knew nothing about him, and he knew nothing about her. And here he was, the extrovert, the life of the party type of guy, unable to strike up a simple conversation. He never felt like such a coward. With his heart practically beating out of his chest, all he could muster up was a simple hello. Nice going, Michael. Michael. Michael is my name. Sorry, he hadn't even introduced himself to her. Michael is my name, and Jenkins is my surname. He'd like to think girls found him irresistible, charming, and a hell of a nice guy. Even cute in some way. He wasn't about to boast about himself nor place himself in the stud muffin category, but he also knew that when it came to the ladies, he could very much hold his own. But it was never easy, and somehow with Christine sitting next to him, Michael didn't know how to react. Do you know what a panic attack feels like? Heart racing, labored breathing, thoughts of doom and gloom, and that sudden urge to run to a safe place? Seeing Christine for the first time had him in extreme panic mode. But enough was enough. He had to overcome this silly irrational fear and speak to this girl. And he did, finally. Christine was surprisingly sweet. She introduced herself and told him that she had just moved to town and hadn't yet made any friends. Michael found this very hard to believe, and had often been told that sometimes the most beautiful girls are the loneliest. And perhaps she was. Fast forward several weeks, and they were officially dating exclusively. They saw each other every day, spending weeknights and weekends together. He had fallen hard, and he could only assume she felt the same way. Once they had graduated from high school, they attended the same university, graduated cum laude, and began their lives together. They were in love. They were hooked, dependent on each other physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It came to no one's surprise that they eventually got married and looked forward to a simple life, caring and loving one another, and possibly starting a family. All that would change in 5 years. Where the hell was she? Michael asked himself countless times. He was in a rage as soon as he discovered that the entire night had passed and there was no word from Christine. As he glanced down at his cell phone with the hope that there would be a missed call or text message, there was nothing. What was he going to do? Should he call the police? Or perhaps he should get in the car to look for her. He knew he had to do something, but it was obvious that his emotions were out of control, feeling everything from anger to sheer panic. A small part of him had to believe that there was a rational explanation for Christine's disappearance, but the more time passed, the more he kept telling himself that none of this made any sense. Why would she leave? Michael then had to consider the possibility that his beloved wife, had chosen to disappear. Couldn't this be true? Could this be true? It couldn't. Michael always felt that his marriage was a happy one built on trust and mutual respect. Was Michael perhaps deluding himself with the possibility that Christine had run off with another man and simply chose to end her life with Michael and start a new life with someone else? As these thoughts ran ragged through Michael's brain, he just couldn't bring himself to admit this, and yet his logical side felt that he should consider the possibility that she was having an affair and that she had a secret lover that he knew nothing about. As he sat there on the living room couch, he shook his head, not able to entertain this possibility. Christine loved me. Christine loves me, Michael thought. His mother had always told him to think good thoughts, even in a grave situation. But how could he? His damn wife had gone missing into thin air. And he hadn't the slightest clue where to begin. But he knew he couldn't sit there and do nothing. He had to find her, dead or alive, and now. Michael had to think, and he had to think fast. Michael had decided to begin a search, and the most logical place to start was right here in town. Why not? She had family, her friends, and her colleagues, and he was going to question every one of them. He would start with a visit to her best friend, Monica, then her parents, and her boss at the legal firm she worked for. Michael was on a mission and a quest to find Christine, and one way or another, he was going to find her. He was motivated, determined, and above all, anxious to get the answers because deep down inside, Michael knew that Christine was out there somewhere, alive and well. Well, that's it for Chapter 1. Stay tuned next week for Chapter 2. Thanks. Bye for now.